material nature,
Swam, of my personal self, Avashtavya, entering into, Vishvijami, I create, Puna, again and again, Bhudagram, all the cosmic manifestations, Imam, these, Kritsnam, in total, Avasham, automatically, Prakrite, of the force of nature, Vashat, under obligation. Translation. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will it is automatically manifested again and again, and under my will it is annihilated at the end. Purport. This material world is the manifestation of the inferior energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This has already been explained several times. At the creation, the material energy is let loose as the Mahatattva, into which the Lord, as his first Purusha incarnation, Mahavishnu, enters. He lies within the causal ocean and breathes out innumerable universes, and into each universe the Lord again enters as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Each universe is in that way created. He still further manifests himself as Shirodakshaya Vishnu, and that Vishnu enters into everything, even into the minute atom. This fact is explained here. He enters into everything. Now, as far as the living entities are concerned, they are impregnated into this material nature, and as a result of their past deeds, they take different positions. Thus, the activities of this material world begin. The activities of the different species of living beings are begun from the very moment of the creation. It is not that all is evolved. The different species of life are created immediately along with the universe. Men, animals, beasts, birds, everything is simultaneously created, because whatever desires the living entities had at the last annihilation are again manifested. It is clearly indicated here by the word avasham that the living entities have nothing to do with this process. The state of being in their past life and the past creation is simply manifested again, and all this is done simply by his will. This is the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of God. And after creating different species of life, he has no connection with them. The creation takes place to accommodate the inclinations of the various living entities, and so the Lord does not become involved with it. Prakritim swam avashtabhya prashijani punatpuna bhudagrama imam kritsnam avasham prakriter avashat. Is the translation department happening or what? There are a few. Make a rating for translation. It's not set up. It's working on it. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will it is automatically manifested again and again, and under my will it is annihilated at the end. So in the beginning of the creation, the Padan, or the unmanifested feature, that energy which is not in any specific form, quality, characteristic, but rather is a mass of potential, of energy, this is the initial stage of the creation, it's Pradhan. And when it turns within the form of a particular universe, it is known as the Mahatattva, or the sum total of elements and ingredients. And within that, the Supreme Lord enters, and the whole creation begins to take place sequentially. Sequentially, the cosmic manifestation is created, and sequentially, it is also destroyed. Everything takes place in its due course, in proper order, in the proper time, just according to the desire of Krishna, which is, of course, derived from the desires of the living entities. The cosmic manifestation is assembled into the particular universal form required, and then the living entities begin to take up in their own ways, according to their own works of the past, their activities again. Those who are to take up the work of human being take up the human body. Those who were living within the animal forms or plant forms or insect forms, they take up again those forms and gradually progress through the different species of life. This gradual progression, this gradual establishment of the whole universal order is established from the very beginning, but it takes some time to manifest. Immediately, the different forms are there. However, before the whole universe is populated significantly enough to make a dent in this grand nature, it will take quite some time. Therefore, we say, immediate creation is there. However, it will also take a long time before the universe is so filled up that we will begin to notice it on the earth planet. The Lord Brahma, he establishes the Prajapatis. He creates those who would create progeny. Actually, whenever someone acts as a creator of progeny, he is acting as a representative of the creative potency of Lord Brahma. You have to get the headphones out here. So, that creative potency is originally manifested in Lord Krishna. He is the original presenter, or the original establisher of the creative potency. For he creates the different incarnations, Purusha avatars, rather manifest them. And then he creates out of his own potency within the universe, from the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Brahma, who is the supreme personality or supreme living entity, Jiva soul, within this universe. He's not the supreme personality of all, but he's the supreme Jiva soul within this universe. Being as it is that he is the creator of the arrangements within the material universes. The living entities are furthermore impregnated within this cosmic manifestation by the arrangement of Krishna, who, by his merciful glance, looks over the cosmic manifestation, and although previously it had no life, there's some girls who need those. Some girls I don't remember where. Although the cosmic manifestation previously had no life, it gained its life when the Supreme Lord glanced over it and impregnated into the bodies of the living entities, into the bodies that were all manifested there by Lord Brahma's arrangement, impregnated the spirit souls within those bodies, and thus those bodies came to life. We are not just talking about human bodies, or even animal bodies, all bodies, plant bodies, fishes' bodies, all bodies. They may be there very nicely arranged, but without the Lord, Super Soul, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, glancing over the material energy glancing over all these bodies. The living entities would never manifest in their particular form, because just a dead body is nothing more than a statue, more or less. It is not any particular special thing. Dead body is just some material elements put together. But when the form is complete with living entity impregnated into it, then it is a complete form of a living being. In other words, it does not have any value unless the living entity is within it. The value comes when the spirit soul is impregnated within that body. And that spirit soul, that living entity who is impregnated within the body, he is accepting that body simply because of his previous actions. The super soul is there, knowing the karma, knowing the desires of all the living entities, and they are impregnated by the Lord into particular bodies exactly according to those desires and exactly according to those requirements for living in a particular form to accomplish those purposes which they should accomplish. We all have our plans which are made over long periods of time, and those plans are always giving us an impetus for action. In the material world, we are making plans for sense gratification. And over long periods of time, these plans are going on, and we are continuously, life after life, body after body, trying to accomplish our purposes, to enjoy, to become very satisfied in material nature. But even we work out these desires through the entire day of Brahma, it is not necessarily so that we shall accomplish these purposes. Even the whole day of Brahma may go by, and we may be acting fruitively in all different forms of bodies. But it is not necessarily so that we will succeed. And then, at the end of the day of Brahma, all the living entities are annihilated. The living entity, of course, is never annihilated. The spirit soul cannot be born, cannot die, cannot be annihilated, for it cannot be cut, or beaten, or withered, or burned. But at the end of the day of Brahma, the host of beings is absorbed within the body of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and all the living entities take shelter within his form, and all their bodies, all of their arrangements within this material nature are destroyed, and the host of living beings rests within the body of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu for some time, waiting for the night of Brahma to pass. Lord Brahma takes rest. He needs more rest than us because he works harder. He's resting 12 hours. But he did a lot of work in his 12 hours. A lot more than we can ever imagine. Then, when Lord Brahma awakens, he has to be reminded of his duties by Krishna again, and he is given the responsibilities once more to re-establish the creation as it was. It is not that he makes something new. He just recreates it as it was before. After the destruction comes the rejuvenation. And once more, the Supreme inspires Brahma to establish the whole universe as it was. And Lord Brahma, under the direction of the plan, of the blueprint of the Lord, creates the bodies of the different living entities. And again, they are all impregnated into their bodies by the Lord's glance. And everybody gets the body just according to the karma that they should. And again, it is going on next day, next annihilation, next creation. That's what Krishna is saying in this verse. Rishi Janami Puna Puna, I created again and again. That is the purpose of this understanding. Everything goes out from the Lord, everything comes back into the Lord, everything goes back out again from the Lord, everything comes back into the Lord again. Just like the Markandeya Rishi. Not our Markandeya Rishi Das, but the real Markandeya Rishi. He is one of the most special devotees of the Lord. Markandeya Rishi's austerities were famous. He meditated for 7 Manu cycles. For 7 cycles of Manu. 7 changes of Manu were there. And he was meditating over this tremendously long period of time without even considering it was such a long period of time. He was just meditating. Indra got so envious of him that Indra sent Cupid personified along with lust personified in the form of intoxication personified too. They came to him and surrounded by apsaras, heavenly dancing girls, and all kinds of musicians. Indra first sent spring. Markandeya was living on the other side of the Himalaya mountains. And anyway, this place we may not know of now, but it is in the mountains on the other side. I suppose nowadays that would be China. And he was meditating, performing also his offerings to the friar. And in his ashram, it was never spring like that. But Indra sent the most beautiful spring. All the flowers started to bloom. All the breezes were there. Spring has a certain vibration to it, which makes everybody lusty. I know nobody here understands these things, but we have heard from authorities that in the springtime, the lusty desires increase. So, in the springtime, this was all of a sudden becoming springtime in the ashram of Markandeya Rishi. And they were all dancing to do so many things. And one apsara actually managed by playing with a ball to drop her clothing. And then Cupid thought, now I've got him. This is the perfect time. He shot his arrows. But everything was simply paralyzed by Markandeya Rishi's potency. Cupid himself felt like he was being burned up. Instead of burning up Markandeya, he was being burned. And all of them, they just froze. Like little children who are captured and doing something naughty by the parents. They were totally nullified. They couldn't do anything. Such was the potency of Markandeya Rishi. Actually, right after this, Narayan Rishi, Narayan is the twin incarnation of the Lord, four-armed with water pot and rods. One of them is bluish, the other is whitish. They came together. It's like when Lord Krishna went to see Mahavishnu to find the sons of the Brahmana who had been taken away in Dwarka despite Arjuna's taking care of them. They went in the Narayan feature. Arjuna was Nara and Krishna was Narayan. So these two lords came to see Markandeya Rishi. And they said, now we will give you any benediction you like. Markandeya Rishi said, I just want to see your illusory potency in action. But the Lord wryly smiled. Wryly means with a slight smile, knowing full well that he's not going to like what he sees. Sometimes the devotees ask for benediction like that to increase their Krishna consciousness by knowing how it is that Krishna is causing everything to go on in his creation. So Markandeya asked for something which was going to be trouble. And it was. For some times later, he noticed in his ashram that the river was overflooding, big huge storms were blowing, lightning was appearing everywhere in the clouds, and the 4 oceans on each side were overflowing. Everything was becoming greater and greater. The disturbing conditions were becoming more and more. And gradually the whole universe was filling up with water. Not only that, it became so full of water that the whole cosmic manifestation was being devastated as it was at the end of the day of Brahma. In other words, annihilation was coming. And Markandeya Rishi, after a short while, realized he was the only one left. He was floating in the waters of devastation, trying to maintain himself. And big alligators, and timid fish, and others were coming to try to eat him. And he was feeling great fear from that. And he was feeling great fear because the ocean was making huge waves, and the whirlpools were twirling him around. And he was overwhelmed by hunger and thirst and unlimited fatigue. And this was going on for tens of thousands and millions of millions of years. And he was just twirling and swirling and being thrown all around in different directions, and he didn't know what was happening, and he was fainting sometimes, and sometimes the big fishes would try to eat him and he would be disturbed. And in this way he would get no rest whatsoever. Sometime after billions of years went by, Markandeya Rishi saw a little island. And on this little island, very small, there was a beautiful tree with beautiful leaves around it. And on this tree, on a branch, sat a little baby. You can understand who this was. With beautiful lotus eyes, beautiful Shama complexion, glancing at him. And then, as he was looking with great love, then all of a sudden, that baby was inhaling, and he and all of the devastation was sucked within the mouth of that child who was just sitting there smiling, sucking on his toe, playing as babies would play. And then Markandeya found himself within, and within the body of that child was the whole universe. Everything was within it. And then when he was wondering what was going on, again the child exhaled, and Markandeya came out again from the body of the child. And this time he was back into the waters of devastation. When he was within, everything was very nice. But when he came out again, everything was back into the waters of devastation. But this time he understood here was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he reached out to embrace him with great love. But the Lord disappeared. Then Markandeya found himself in his own ashram once again, as he was before. Very exhausted. After that very incredible experience. The only one who has ever experienced in history an annihilation at the end of the day of Brahma and survived. Others have experienced it for some minutes, but actually he experienced it and survived. So this pastime showed how everything comes within the body of the Lord and out again. And although to us it seems to be so significant, to him It is just a play. The Lord as a child is playing, sucking on his toe, laying on a leaf on a banyan tree. And when he breathes out, the whole manifestation again is created. When he breathes in, it is again annihilated. Mahavishnu. Breathing out, all the universes emanate. Breathing in, they're all annihilated. For him, it is a play, a dream, yoga nidra. For us, it is so significant. Everything for us is so significant. All of these events which take place seem to be so significant within this world. And certainly they have significance. We are not trying to say that things have no significance. No, everything has significance, certainly. After all, this human form of life is meant for the progressive march of the living entity out of the Maya of this material creation back to the lotus feet of the Lord. Therefore, from that point of view, everything that takes place has significance. But if we think of our great empires or our great achievements or our great arrangements in the material nature as having significance, factually they have not very much in a relative sense. If you compare the way the whole cosmic manifestation is created and annihilated again and again, what is, after all, a few movements of the material energy here or there? Sukadeva Goswami wanted to explain this to Maharaj Parikshit just before Maharaj Parikshit was to be bitten by the Takshaka bird, snake bird. He explained to him all about the progressive, continuous destruction that is taking place of the whole cosmic manifestation, what to speak of one's temporary material body. The temporary body will come and will go. There is certainly no doubt about that. But what is that in the face of the whole entire gigantic cosmic manifestation? With its intolerable devastations at the end of the days of Brahma. That manifestation will certainly come and go again and again, Krishna says. Again and again this host of beings is annihilated, again created and again annihilated at the end. Yet we take significantly every little beginning or end of every activity. If somebody insults us, that's the end of life. As if any of these things made very big impressions in eternity. It's not even a ripple in the grand ocean of eternity. If you drop a grain of sand into the ocean, does it make any effect that you can even see? And even our whole kingdom, even all the events of the earth planet, are not even a grain of sand in the ocean of time. After so many thousands of years, do you think anybody's going to remember us? You think anybody's going to care about our great kingdoms and technology and all these things? Do we care about thousands of years ago? No. We care, of course, as devotees. We care about the Pandavas. We care about the histories which are there. Purana means the ancient histories, itihasa. That we care. But as far as the mundane activities, do we care? No. Will those in the future care? No, certainly not. The activities of those who are coming in the future, we know from Lord Chaitanya's description that they will be living very nice Krishna consciousness in the future. Why should they care too much about all of the demoniac activities of the material energy? Those who would live within the material energy in this Kali Yuga, this very bad time, before the supremacy of Lord Chaitanya's movement is manifesting. So, we may think, oh, how terrible is this material nature. And yes, it may be so. But if we have a little bit of faith in the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the mercy of Lord Shri Krishna, then we can understand that Although times may be not very good, although the material energy may not be giving way, material energy, of course, doesn't give up without a good fight. It is not that the material energy will just quit one day and say, okay, here, take the world, we don't care anymore. Maya says, all right, I give up. I don't care about all these people anymore. Make them Krishna conscious. Maya doesn't work like that. Maya continuously wants to make that arrangement so the living entity will stay in Maya. The test is there. What's to be done? What is to be done? How to arrange things in such a way that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is satisfied, that we can somehow or another conquer this material energy. Srila Prabhupada has already given us the solution. Somehow or another, preach the Krishna consciousness movement, distribute Srila Prabhupada's books far and wide in all the languages of the world, and bring people to the lotus feet of Krishna, engaging everybody in whatever way we can in Krishna's service. All according to their abilities should be engaged in Krishna's service. Somehow or another, we should try to engage people in whatever way we can. We are engaging them by giving them books. We are engaging them by collecting from them Lakshmi. We are engaging them by bringing them to Krishna's temple. We are engaging them by preaching to them about Krishna, so they may hear. If we can just get as many people as possible engaged in Krishna's service, this will make a very great impression in this world. One Krishna conscious man can change the whole world. To see how Srila Prabhupada made such an impression on this whole world that now topics which were formerly unheard of in common conversation are now becoming some of the biggest topics that people are concerned about. Namely reincarnation and even karma to a certain extent. But karma is much more sophisticated than reincarnation. Reincarnation can be explained according to some kind of esoteric or, shall we say, spectacular results from hypnotic techniques or other techniques. But karma, the explanation of why this reincarnation takes place, is more subtle. But that's the next step. First, they're finding this out. Magazines are writing stories, people are writing books, radio and TV are interested. We are continuously being approached by them in different places for some explanation about these things. For factually, Srila Prabhupada is the topmost authority on all these affairs. Because of his book distribution, everybody is coming to understand these points. How big is vegetarianism becoming? It's becoming really big. Where formerly you had no vegetarian restaurants, now you may have 5 in one city. And each of them packed. In America, they have very nice programs for stopping eating. Actually, things are going on. Development is there, but it's not yet fructified to the point where people are interested in developing their love for the Supreme Personality of God. That will take a little time. Right now they're finding out these peripheral things which differentiate the human being from the animal. They're finding out these different things, like karma, reincarnation. These facts differentiate the human beings from animals because there's something beyond eating, sleeping, mating, and descending. So they're finding this out now. Then gradually, as they come to the point of actually being human beings, then they gradually get to the point of understanding Krishna. Little by little. Then they'll begin to understand how the whole cosmic manifestation is created by Him, maintained by Him, and annihilated by Him as well through His various potencies. And when they see this magnificent potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when they understand, even in the slightest way, that it is all manifesting from Him alone, and they begin to surrender to Him, because everybody wants to surrender to somebody greater than he, then at that time, the world will transform into a very nice place. I don't think we have to wait that long. It is not, of course, you should not hold your breath waiting. Even 10 years, what is that? That is not a long time. If you think of how many hundreds of years, thousands of years, people have been in total Maya, if they have to wait another 10 years, let's just say, before gradually the human society transforms to such a degree that they'll be able to directly take shelter of Krishna. So what is that, 10 years? We can wait 10 years, 10 years. 10 years ago, Krishna consciousness movement was just starting to get its feet really strongly in the earth. And now so many nice results are there, and preaching to the people throughout the world. Another 10 years would be very nice too. So, our Krishna consciousness movement is important. And we have to keep pushing it on. At least keep pushing on these books of Srila Prabhupada. For we know that simply by bringing these transcendental literatures to the conditioned souls, that their whole lives will transform. And this is very important. Their whole lives will transform. How to bring about this transformation is not directly within our control. We should simply present Krishna consciousness. And then automatically, people will be attracted. Automatically, they will want to surrender more to Krishna. Automatically, they will start chanting Hare Krishna. The best results we get in preaching are generally not those that we manufacture ourselves with great endeavor. They're the ones that walk in the door, being inspired by Krishna. We've seen it also in the many devotees, they just become Krishna conscious just because they walk in the door. Krishna finally tells them, all right, now you are ready to come and join the association of devotees. Go visit. Nice place, isn't it? Then they come and they see the beautiful forms of Sri Sri Gadadhara Giridhari. How can their hearts not be melted? Only a fool, no, only a rock would not have his heart melted from seeing the beautiful forms of the Lord. He's just standing there waiting for us to surrender to Him. But fools that we are, we insist on maintaining our own material attachments. We insist on remaining situated within this material creation. That is our fault alone. Therefore, if we can actually surrender to Krishna, then there is all possibility of happiness, success, peace, satisfaction. But if we maintain our envious position, then we'll never be satisfied. Krishna is here just so we may serve Him. So we should take shelter of His lotus feet and just try to satisfy Him with our endeavors, with our words, with our mind. Then everything will be very nice. But unless we can satisfy the Lord like that, there will always be disturbance. The material world is full of disturbance. We may not, of course, be swimming in the ocean of annihilation, like Markandeya was. But we are swimming in the ocean of difficulty. The material nature is always difficult. Always a trouble. Always causing difficulties to the conditioned souls. We should try again and again, somehow or another, just surrender to Krishna. We have to hear it again and again because our mind keeps telling us there's something else to do. There's nothing else to do. We should just surrender to Krishna. Just take shelter of Krishna and be very happy. Happiness comes when we give up our attachments to this material world. Happiness comes when we stop thinking ourselves as the controllers and enjoyers. And until then, there's no question of happiness. There's only the question of frustration. So we don't want to be frustrated, but still, because of our foolishness, lusty desires, rascaldom, we are frustrated. We want to be happy. Therefore, we have to pay the price. What is the price? Full surrender to the Supreme Personality of God. Unconditional. It is difficult, because that price is worth more than all the money on the planet. It is easier, of course, for a materialist to part with all of his money and to surrender completely to Krishna. Because if he parts with all his money, then he thinks, well, at least I can get it back again by my good work. But if I surrender to Krishna, then what? Then all my material desires are finished. For materialists, to be finished with material desires is practically worse than death. If you tell him, I have here this method for freeing you from all material desires, he practically faints. So then what left is it? So if the devotee thinks like that too, of course, there will be so many troubles. Devotees should not think, oh, if I lose my material desires, then what is left? No! What is left is the lotus feet of the Lord. And there everything is. You're never the loser by surrendering to Krishna. You can only gain. Therefore, let us try again and again to satisfy Krishna, surrender to Krishna, serve Krishna, and somehow or another depend on Him fully.